What's up everyone and welcome to another live feed update, but first it's a very special day in the house. Happy birthday Keesha, happy birthday Keesha, happy birthday Keesha. Yes guys, it's Keesha's birthday and for the first time in Big Brother history he will not be evicted on his birthday, so let's show Keesha some birthday love in the comment section. And there's been lots of game talk last night guys, so we'll dive right into that. Lots of game, so I'm very excited to discuss through it. Just one quick thing guys, if you are new around here, please hit the subscribe button for more live feed updates. I do them daily and it's been great fun so far and it will continue to be. And also please click the like button whilst you're here, it literally takes 1 second to do so, so please just click it. So we'll dive right into the live feed update. Enzo has confirmed to Nicole Franzel that he will not be using the veto this week. He has said that he will lock in nominations tomorrow, which is obviously today now, and so it looks like the veto ceremony is going to be today. The campaigns have already begun for Keesha and Kevin to stay in the house, but it looks like they're going to be rocketing today as soon as Enzo locks in the nominees and says he's not using the power of veto. I think we all expected this to happen, but it's just a matter of now who actually has the votes to stay. So we'll talk about that because it seems as though the votes are definitely lying in someone's favour. But with 3 to 4 days to go until the actual eviction, things could flip on their head because this is Big Brother and you've got to expect the unexpected. It seems as though this week Kevin does have the majority of votes to stay, and what we've got to remember is the magic number this week is 7. You require 7 votes to stay. So Kevin and Dave Von got thinking which votes Kevin has to stay, and in their head they figured out he has currently, or what they believe he has, is Dave Von, Bailey, Nicole A, Nicole F, Enzo, Danny and David, which is 7 votes, and I'm sure as the week goes on they can probably accumulate more unless Keesha starts to flip things onto her side. If the votes look like they're definitely going towards Kevin, it could just end up being unanimous as everyone wants to be on the right side of the vote, because being on the wrong side of the vote on week 1 in the minority can put a huge target on their back. Janelle and Keesha are obviously trying to keep Keesha around, so it's not going to do them any good to be the only votes to keep her. So if needs be, they will need to flip and jump on the Kevin side of things. Even if they don't want Kevin to stay, they just need to be in good setting and good footing with the house. But it seems as though Kevin has definitely got the votes to stay currently. Tyler continues to boss his one-to-one relationships with people. He reaffirms with David that they have got a final 2 deal and they're going to go to the end together. And also Tyler reconvenes with Dave Von and discusses that they will be discussing game together. They have not necessarily created a final 2, but they have said basically we should report to each other about different game that's going on in the house to both help our games. And I think Tyler's definitely got that strategy on lock. He is working around people one by one, but we know last time that screwed up his end game and he didn't win the money case. He ended up taking it. So it seems Tyler's playing a very similar game, but he's not been as much of a social butterfly this time round. He is basically just he's on the sly, speaking to people one-to-one and creating those deals with them. I think it'll take him only a certain amount of time into the game until people start to go, okay, yeah, people start to talk and go, okay, I've got a final 2 with Tyler, I've got a final 2 with Tyler, and everyone's like, okay, let's send Tyler out the door. So I think that strategy is only going to last for a little time in an all-star season. Kevin is still holding out on hope that he can be taken off the block with the veto, so he says to Dave Von maybe they should pitch to Enzo that he uses the veto on him and Cody can put Memphis up as a replacement nomination. And Dave Von isn't too on board with that. She basically just says to Kevin, you know, just count your blessings and just try to campaign with what you've got now, because I think it's very unlikely Enzo's going to use the veto. I think Kevin's basically out of his head there. I think it's a very slim chance Enzo's going to use the veto. I know it was brought up briefly that they might that Enzo might want to use it so they could send Tyler out the door, but it doesn't seem like that's the plan anymore. So I think Kevin basically just needs to focus on campaigning so he can keep himself in this game. Tyler seems to have formed some sort of deal with Nicole Franzel as they say they would like to work with each other. Nicole Franzel, I believe, was the first person to instigate that, but of course Tyler's not going to say no to someone who wants to work with him. It's another ally for him and someone who won't target him, and as a big player Tyler needs that on his side, so for sure having Nicole Franzel on his side is going to do him the world of good. Christmas has had a moment to herself and she's evaluating her game and basically saying that the girls scare her. The likes of Danny and Janelle she feels as if they are tough as nails and she is scared of what they can do in the game, the damage that they can do, and she says in her head currently the ideal final 3 would be with Bailey and Tyler, and I think that's very bold to say in the first week. Obviously all can change over the time, but currently she feels that way. Again, that's Tyler in good footing. He seems to have a great relationship with nearly everyone in the house. A lot of people on Janelle and Keesha's side of the house are sniffing him out to definitely be a strong player. So I don't feel like anyone from the other side of the house will target Tyler apart from someone on Janelle and Keesha's side of the house. So unless Janelle and Keesha were to win HOH next week, I'd say Tyler's safe for a few more weeks. Despite Cody's side of the house being against Janelle and Keesha, Cody starts to realise that if Janelle begins to steamroll the competition, it's better to have her on his side. So he's basically telling Danny it would be a good idea to get close to Janelle, and Danny sort of established the idea that, you know, the guys actually seem to be gravitating towards Janelle a lot more, whereas the girls seem to be gravitating towards Keesha a lot more. She did say that in a conversation with someone else later in the evening, but it seems as though Cody definitely needs a backup plan there just in case Janelle was to win HOH. I do believe, though, I think Janelle won't target Cody. She's told him that upright. If she wins HOH, she's not going to target him. However, she's definitely high up on his hit list, and I think Cody needs to be careful with his relationship with Janelle. However, I will say I think Janelle's laying low tactic is working perfectly. She's had several house guests come to her over the past few days. Dave Vaughn was the main one over the last 1 or 2 days, and last night we saw Bailey approach her, and they've basically said they don't want to get in each other's ways and won't target each other, so they've established some sort of mutual respect line there, and that's definitely going to benefit both of their games. I think Bailey's in a good social situation anyway, but Janelle certainly needs that to help her last a few more weeks in the house. Obviously, we have our core alliance of Danny, Nicole Franzel, Enzo, and Cody. But we see Nicole Franzel telling Danny that we should bring in Bailey and Dave Vaughn into the fold. And I think Danny's quite receptive to that. However, she believes that the best idea would be to split up Bailey and Dave Vaughn eventually. So she doesn't want to get too close to them. However, for now, I feel like potentially maybe bringing them in slightly as loose numbers could be a good idea. But they also, both of them, established the idea in their head that potentially they are putting their hands in too many cookie jars in the house. After all, it is only day 6 in the house, and they need to slow down slightly. However, I don't think that Dave Vaughn and Bailey are threats for them currently, so it's definitely good to have them on their side. But for sure, further down the line, they are definitely a duo that needs to be broken up because they can do some major damage in this game. As far as Kevin's campaigning goes, Danny is giving him a little hand, basically saying when he's campaigning to people, he should remind people of Keesha's power in the game. You know, in her season in Big Brother 10, she won 3 HOHs, she won America's Favourite Player, and she also made it to the Final 4. So Danny's basically reminding Kevin to say that to many people, so people feel like Keesha is a threat in the house. I'd say that her fate is pretty much sealed at this point, unless something miraculous happens over the next few days. But you never know. This is Big Brother, of course, and things might just skyrocket after the veto ceremony, and things may get out of hand. We may see a fight. I know it's unlikely on week 1, but remember, this is Big Brother and anything can happen, so your favourite might just be saved and things could be totally flipped on its head. During this week, Kevin has believed that Janelle has been a part of his nomination plan, and as a result, he has told Nicole Anthony that if he was to win HOH next week, he would put Janelle and Keesha up on the block, which is a terrible move on his part because Janelle and Keesha are not against Kevin. They obviously want Keesha to stay, but they are not actively rooting to get Kevin out. I think Kevin is basically just running to power now, and I think he's definitely sort of following there. I think we're seeing the start of signs of someone who is just not really wanting to be their own player in this game, and someone who is just going towards the power. And I respect that, though, because, you know, it's going to help Kevin get further in the game and help him lay low for a couple of weeks should he survive this eviction. So I'm not totally against that, but I think you know, you've got to respect everyone's gameplay, and that's his style of doing things. And if he wants to target Janelle and Keesha, he's going to have a huge target on his back from their end, and I don't think he will win HOH this week. I think it's going to go to someone else. But you never know, guys, and obviously it counteracts, you know, the fact that on Thursday night we don't even know what sort of HOH competition is it going to be. Is it going to be a mind comp? Is it going to be a physical comp? We just don't know yet, so we'll see who wins on that night, and that will definitely set the tone for the next week. Another sign pointing towards the fact that Kevin will be staying this week is Enzo reassuring him that he has his vote, so it seems like Kevin is definitely reeling in as many votes as possible, and it's not really slowing down. Christmas and Nicole Franzel seem to have a very, very strong relationship. However, Nicole Franzel is relaying information about Christmas back to Danny into the core 4. And it seems as though Christmas does trust Nicole Franzel quite a lot, and is basically telling her that they should split up for power, basically, essentially. So they'll be working together, but separately controlling people. And I think, you know, before the eviction vote, they should sit down and decide who they think they should bring into their alliance. So that's definitely something we've got to watch out for over the next few days. I think Christmas is definitely getting great social footing going on. She's working with quite a few people, and I think it's working for her. I think she's definitely laying quite low, but it's working. The fact that, you know, she's laying low, but also she's creating those strong bonds, and it seems as though she's getting herself into a great position to go deep into this game. Nicole Franzel is the same, but I feel like she's got this bigger target on her back than Christmas, so I feel like she'll go first before Christmas, because nobody's really out to target Christmas, whereas there's quite a few people out to target Nicole Franzel. Due to Nicole Franzel being a very close ally of the HOH Cody this week, she has had a conversation with Dave Vaughn, and Dave Vaughn has basically said that she is worried about Ian and his power in the game. But Nicole Franzel says, you know, Dave Vaughn, you just chill, and if you can sort of get close with Ian, it would definitely help Nicole sort of keep her safe as well, because she can get a word in with Cody, who's obviously keeping Ian safe because of Nicole's word, and she can also keep Dave on safe there. So I feel like the power's starting to go to Nicole Franzel's head slightly. I think a lot of people are hating on Nicole Franzel in this game, and I feel like it's starting to die down actually over the past few days. It seemed as though it was sky high in the first few days, but it seems to be slowing down a lot more these days, and she's definitely making the right moves, and I've got to respect her for that. She's making great social bonds with people, although whilst having this big target on her back, and she was going to have that anyway going into this game, because she's a winner. So the fact that she's managing to make these good connections with people is definitely going to help her long term in the game. So despite Kevin saying he would put up Janelle and Keesha, he's actually gone to Janelle and said, I would like to work with you. So I don't know if that's total fakery or Kevin just covering all angles in case Janelle was to win HOH next week. Either way, I don't think Janelle was going to target Kevin. So I think Kevin's basically just, as I say, going to every little corner of the house and making sure that he's in good with everyone and just flocking to power. He's not really wanting to be the person to make massive waves himself because he's on the block, and that's fair enough. You shouldn't make massive waves when you're on the block. You just need to lay low and make it look like you're not bothered if you stay or leave when you are in reality. You just got to play it cool and hope that you make it to the next week. Cody, Enzo, Bailey and Dave Von reconvened in the HOH room to form their solid alliance, and they seem they've came up with a great plan, and they basically have thought, they're a strong four, and they said that each one of those members of the alliance would take care of someone else and make sure that they're getting information off them, which is a fine tactic, and I think it'll work very, very well for them. And they'll basically bring in all that information to create a massive cluster of information that they can help them make it further into the game. So they said that each person from the alliance would take one person from that's outside the alliance to get info from them. So they decided that Bailey would get information from Janelle, we'd have Cody getting information from Ian, and we'd have Enzo getting information from Tyler, and Davon getting information from Danny. So there's definitely a spread of power in that house there, and it seems as though they want that to sort of look like maybe a final 8 alliance. I don't think that's going to be solid though, because as I say, it's day 6. There's lots more game to happen, and lots more power changes to happen as well. But for now, I feel like that's a great tactic that they've got, and they've established something very, very solid for the first week. Our final bit of game talk from the night involves Keesha and Janelle. They basically discuss who they would put up if they were the HOH next week. Janelle sort of seems to be quite reserved and she won't really say much, but I think she's thinking of making some sort of power move. Whereas Keesha says straight up to her that she'll be putting up Cody alongside another guy. And Janelle basically tells her, you should say that when you're campaigning for people, because I'm sure a lot of people would rather Keesha take the shot at Cody than themselves, because it's a big power move, but Keisha's definitely got an excuse to, because Cody's put her on the block already. Janelle also brings up the fact that she does not trust Nicole Franzel one bit, so Keesha also does say, Nicole Franzel is definitely an idea to put on the block alongside Cody, and I think it's definitely a strong move to do, because despite that side of the house not really being in power, it seems that they are a much more perceptive side of the house, and they can see everything that's going on. They're not letting anything get past them, and I think putting up Nicole Franzel and Cody next to each other would be a definite power move for week 2, and look great on your game resume if you manage to get one of them out. So there guys, there was a lot of game talk last night, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed going through it, but that is it for now. I'm sure day 6 with the veto ceremony happening, I'm pretty sure it's going to ensue a lot more game talk, and I can't wait for it, and I can't wait to discuss it right on this channel. And of course guys, if you're new around here, click the subscribe button so you can hear me talk about that, and live feed updates all season long. Please hit the like button, don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff guys, and I really, really appreciate you watching. You are all legends. But besides from that guys, until the next live feed update, I've been your host Tom Vasey. Good night.